Good morning, YouTubes. So we're on the Volvo 480 restoration project, and the first thing you'll notice is the cover's not on the car anymore. Well, that cover is absolutely useless, as most of you that are on the Facebook group know. I put that on last week, just before. It's been raining quite a bit over the past couple of days, and it turns out that a weatherproof cover is not waterproof, despite what it might make out. And what's happened, let's have a little look. You can see the car is soaked. Furthermore, what the cover was actually doing was sitting there, letting water permeate through it, and then it was sandwiching it between the cover and the car. So effectively it was making the rain stay on the car even longer than it would normally when it runs off. So that's not good news at all, and to be honest, it's worrying me a little bit. So let's get a bit further and see what we can do and what we can find out about where some of our rain leaks are. Working from the back, the boot has always had a bit of a rain leak problem. First of all, Volvo's design on the way that the cables come in and out kind of around this seal isn't great. That doesn't seem to be the problem anymore now, because what I've done is, this is a new boot seal rubber that I've put on, and also this piece here I've packed with even more rubber to push firmly, because the idea is that the boot rubber pushes against this seam here and keeps the water out, and it's sort of working. But if you have a look, you can see we've had some water dripping down from some of these parts. So what I'm wondering is whether I could put a sort of thinnish foam pad, self-adhesive, all around here, which I've got some spare. So I might give that a try. The other thing is that rain has been pooling along here, which is my light cluster, which isn't great. But the good news is that rain doesn't look like it's been falling on this part or coming in through the window seal. I was getting some rain come in through this window seal, so what I did was I used a bit of silicone around the seal, and that seems to have stopped that now. So that's not a bad sign. So hopefully that's going to be okay. One problem that I did notice is on the driver's side, the carpet feels a little bit damp along here. In fact, you might be able to see it. That looks a little damp, so I think the carpets have to come out. I think I need to figure out what's going on there. So although I was hoping to be able to put the interior back together, I think it's going to be quite the opposite, and I'm going to have to take even more of the interior apart. It just seems to keep getting longer and longer, this list, really, doesn't it? And if you recall, recently I did a rather bad job of trying to repair a little bit of the rust damage. Now if you have a look, this is the one that I used the manual filler on. It's actually quite smooth. That now needs a primer on sooner rather than later, before that starts to rust up, but might be okay on that. Might be able to prime around it. It's not looking great. This was the spray filler primer material that I used, and to be honest, I'm not very impressed. There's a noticeable lip there. I might be able to solve that with a little bit of gentle sanding, but you see it hasn't actually filled very well at all. So I think this stuff is fine as a primer, but for filler it's no good. So I don't think the filler and primer in one spray is really the stuff to use. I think I'll just go back to using the traditional filler, and then we'll use that as just the primer coat afterwards. might get that on, because I want to get that covered with the primer, at least to get us a little bit more protection in place on this side. There we go, that's the spray primer put on. What I did find is you need to mask quite a large area, because the spray does tend to accumulate a little bit on the body panels. You can see on this side, kind of ruined that a little bit, but the main thing is this isn't for beautification. We can worry about that some other time. This is purely to get the car protected and to stop any more evil rust eating away at the car. So hopefully this will help this side protect a little bit more from the outside. I've checked the inside, and the inside of this panel is pretty good actually, because you can see it from the inside. So this one's not too bad. We are going to need a little bit of welding work, like I mentioned in a previous video, down the bottom. That's going to be coming up very soon, but that should protect that a little bit better. So we've got that sorted. So I say, by the way, sorry for the wobbly camera work. I really do need to get a gimbal for this, so it's not quite as jumpy. What I was thinking is this self-adhesive foam, if I attach that, it's difficult to see. If I attach that all the way around, then when that comes down, it will push onto this rubber piece, and it should create an even tougher seal around it, and I think that might help with our boot leak problem. So that's a quick one, so I'm going to get that done now and I'll show you the results. Job done. You can see, you can hopefully see the rubber seal that I've added on around the edge. And the top here. So I think that's going to help. The hard part is, what it's actually caused though, is it's actually quite difficult to shut the boot now. So I might need to adjust the lock, because you can actually move the lock out a little bit, but I do want quite a bit of pressure on the seal, because that should help things work. So I think that's going to be quite a success. So hopefully that's going to stop any of the leaks coming in through the top, through the boot hatch here. What we need to find is where the water is coming in into the driver's side, and getting some of the carpet on the driver's side damp, because I've checked, and on the passenger side I think it's just cold. It doesn't feel particularly wet, so we might be okay there. So let's have a look on the driver's side, because the potential is, first of all, the glass on this side isn't that secure, so it could be that it's going down inside the door. The other part is along the rubber seams. That side doesn't look too bad. There is a bit of dampness on that piece of carpet though. Follow it along. Hold on. I can see a pool of water, and if that water was going straight across, that would be getting this part of the carpet wet. I think what we need to do is take off this piece, which, if I remember rightly, it slides one way or the other. Of course it's not going to slide. Need to take this off. Feels like there's supposed to be screws there, but there aren't. I'm going to guess this button just pulls off. This lever, I should say. It's famous last word, isn't it? This will just pull off easily. I'll get something to pry it off, take that, and then we can take the plastic off. And I think, by the looks of it, that might be where our water is coming in there. We might be able to get to the bottom of that, because if I feel other parts of this carpet, that's dry, that's dry up there. Feels a little bit of dampness there. Wonder where that would be coming from. A little bit of dampness around that section. so we might need to have a look. So I think this needs a bit of further investigation. What I'm going to do is get it so that I can get a little bit easier access into it, get this off and have a look. But that might be good news. That might be finding where the leak is, which has been half the battle. So what we need to do now is move the car over, so we'll fire it up, see if it still starts, that's the first thing, and move it across in the driveway so that I can get at the driver's side. I don't have a great deal of space outside here, unfortunately, so that's what I've got to do. But it gets the car running, it'll move the tyres and wheels and things like that a little bit, helps to keep it a little bit free. Not a great deal, to be honest, but it should be enough. So let's get the car moved to see if it starts up. I would call that a great success, to be honest. Something that I did notice when I was moving it is the power steering was coming on and off. It was allowing me to turn the wheel and then not turn it. But I realised, and I've also had a very dim battery warning light, but I realised afterwards I had actually taken the tension off the accessory belt. And you can see it's got a bit of flap to it, so that won't have been tight enough, and that runs the alternator and the power steering pump, so that would explain it. So I'm not too worried about that. Otherwise, started up first time, there seemed to be no idling or unusual seeking or anything like that. The brakes were feeling okay as well, actually. I tried the handbrake very briefly at the end, and the handbrake was holding the car after a few clicks, so I think the brake reconditioning is certainly doing the job, so that's great news. So I'm quite pleased with that. What it does allow me to do is open the driver door better, and we can get in and we can try and get this leak sorted out. That's the plastic trim off, and we can definitely see that's where the water's been getting in. You can see it's caused a little bit of rust in the past as well, but the good news is it looks like it's just surface. So what we'll do is we'll get that rust off. I'll get some rust converter on it, and that'll help protect that, because we don't want the seals going. Be interesting to know what the seals are like actually through the bottom. I don't think, oh actually, not long enough, but that might be interesting to check, because if water's been coming in through here, I'd be a bit worried that water's been going through into the sill, and that might not be good news. But at least I know where the water for here is coming in now, so we can look to solve that one. Looks like it just must be running around the outside of the door, getting stuck, pooling here, which actually there is a lot of rubbish in here, and not draining out the bottom. So we'll give this a bit of a clean up and see if I can fix the rubber to stop that from happening. But that's good, I think we've found that. Also, a little bit earlier, I think I mentioned that this part of the carpet felt a little bit damp. Now, I think I've found what that is. In the engine bay, actually, let's take her and I'll show you. We'll go wobbly camera work again. So, two things here. First is this, which is the relay box. Now I haven't had this screwed in for a while, and actually that's a hole that goes straight down into the footwell. Now there's a rubber seal around the side of it, so when it's screwed in nice and tight, it holds on. So I think that might be a fault there, or at least that's my fault for not having that fastened in. Secondly, down the bottom you can see the drain. Now that was full of rubbish, bits of leaves, things like that. And it's the same, go around on the other side. The other side is a little bit more obvious. This side, you can see, it's gathered a load of rubbish. What it does is it drains out there, a little flap on a rubber seal that lets it out. But what's been happening, this is the fan, you can see water's gone in there, so there'll be some water working its way down inside. So I think what I'm going to do is, because the car's going to be sat up for a while, is I'm going to get some plastic, cover this over so we don't get water coming in there, clean the drains out as well, and hopefully that's going to solve the water coming in to the into the cabin. Fingers crossed that will help us out there. And that should stop the water getting in, which is one of the main worries that I've had, is obviously water getting in, sitting on the carpets, pooling, that can cause some severe bodywork damage.